What's up guys? I'm Matt, this is Hidden Light, and today we're going to talk about loading your large format film holders. A couple of common mistakes, issues, problems that we see that you can avoid. Let's jump right in. Okay, so we're going to work with 8x10 today, but all the same principles apply to 4x5, 5x7, whatever large format shenanigans you're shooting that involve sheet film. Now, this is an exposed sheet of film, which you would never load into your film holder, but we're going to do it because I don't want to waste a sheet of film. That's the simple reason, and we have to shoot videos in the light. So, let's talk about this. There are a couple of different ways to do this, a couple of different things to consider. Let's just go through real quick the things that we see most often. Number one, top down. Whoosh. Here's your beautiful film holder, right? I recommend you include in your film holder, on it physically, what type of film you have it loaded with, and a way for you to keep track of what frame number or what subject it was. I like to number each sheet of film so that I know, okay, frame 2, when I'm writing in my notes, here are my exposure, here's the subject matter, here's what was happening, here's what might have gone wrong, right? The more notes you take when you're shooting large format, the better off you're going to be. And you're going slow because you're shooting large format, so you might as well take notes. That can be pen and paper. I hate that. I just take notes in my phone, right? No big deal. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy, just some sort of notes. I know what's in each holder. I know what approximately I shot with each frame, right? When your film is unexposed, loaded into your holder, generally you want white facing out on your dark slide. On some of them it's silver, but white, silver. Black typically means the image has been exposed to light, because what silver does when you expose it to light is it turns black, right? The silver halide crystals in your, anyway. So black indicates an exposed frame. White indicates a frame that has been not exposed yet. So if you're going to drop off film holders to us, right, to have us process your sheet film, and you hand me a film holder that's got white on one side and black on the other and say, okay, one of those is exposed and one of them was not, I should know by looking at your dark slides which is which. If you do it backwards, that's fine. Just tell us which frame is which, right? I do things backwards, but I run the lab, so I can just process my own damn film or instruct someone that, yes, only one of those is exposed. You need to do it this way. Good. So now we know what's in your film holders. We know what's been shot and what hasn't been shot. Let's talk about loading them and a couple of things we see frequently. First things first, you would think that you would take the cover out of your film holder and then stick your film in like this. Don't do that. It's a great way to ruin your film, scratch things up, and generally make your life totally miserable. There's this beautiful flap on these film holders. Very satisfying. That is actually where you're going to load your film from. So you're going to take your dark slide out, or at least part of the way out. I will typically only pull mine like a third of the way out. Halfway, third of the way, right? And then I will pull down my flap, I'll grab my sheet of film, and with the sheet of film in my hand, I'll load it from the flap side, right? Before you load your film, before you open your film box, before you do any of that, you need to clean out your film holders. When they're empty, you can do this in the light and use your eyeballs, which is super helpful because a dirty film holder will absolutely ruin your film, right? So this film holder has a bunch of dust and some crumbly, nasty, icky badness in it. What I would generally do is take air compressor air, right? Because we have air compressors here, and just go to town on this thing. You want to blow out all the dust, all the sand from your recent excursion to the desert, all of the dog hair, cat hair, beard hair, Get it all out of there. Get all the crap out of your film holder. Then also, while you're at it, clean off your dark slide on both sides, right? Because you don't want any of this getting schmutzy on your film. So you can blow on it, and if you do that, you get spit and wetness and stuff in there. Bad idea. Canned air, compressed air, some sort of way to blow that stuff out of there. A brush is a good way to start, but typically you want high pressure of some kind to kind of force all that crap out of there, right? So you clean out your film holder, both sides, top and bottom, inside and outside. Then I'll prep my dark slides by getting them part way in, facing the correct way out. White is unexposed, black is exposed. So I'm going to put white side out on both of them. And then you need to load your film. Once everything's been cleaned and dried and you know that it's in great shape. The best way, honestly, is to do this in a very dark room. You have a closet, right? Closet's a great way to do it. Just make sure it's light tight. Lock yourself in the closet. Put a towel under the door, just like you used to do when you were smoking weed as a kid. And just make it as light tight as you can. Sometimes just honestly taping like a blanket up on the wall around your door is enough. Go in there. Go ahead and take off your smartwatch that wants to light up. Leave your phone outside. It wants to light up. All that's got to go. Go into the darkroom. So couple of different ways to do this. I'm right-handed. I do it a specific way because that's just the way that I am. As a righty, loading film this way, I take my film one sheet at a time out of the box, not open the box and take all the film out and set it somewhere, not take 5 sheets out and set them off to the side. I will take one sheet out of the bag at a time from the film box. And the way that I remember to do this is I hold the code notch, which you may or may not be able to see on camera. This little guy right here is the code notch, and it tells me what kind of film I have. I want my emulsion facing up, so I take that code notch and I hold it in my finger there. I hold my finger to use it as registration, right? And so that I know where I am. And then open up the tab here. Now, what most people want to do is just kind of like stick it in there and hope. Sometimes you'll get lucky, and most of the time you'll get unlucky. So what I instead recommend you do is look for, now this is difficult to see, but there's a little tab right here that runs most of the length of the film holder, and there's another one on the opposite side. What I do is I set my fingers against these to hold them in registration so that I know where I'm going to be. And then make sure that the film goes underneath both of them. And then you can slide the film all the way in and all the way up. If it's down like this, you're going to have a problem. You want it all the way up. And then close your flap, close your dark slide, rinse and repeat. Right? I only brought the one sheet of film. So if you're a top-down person, which with 4x5 often actually is easier, so I'd be loading it like this, I would take my film out of the box. Again, I'm going to hold the code notch in the same place in my hand, and then make sure that I get my 2 points here, my 2 little nubbins, and then slide the film in there. Right? So if you're loading vertically towards you, it's top right. If you're loading horizontally from one side to the other, it's going to be bottom right, which is really confusing. Figure out a way to deal with it. This is the way that works for me. The bigger your film, the more likely you are to load side to side. When you're shooting little baby 4x5, sometimes it's just a lot easier to do this. But anyway, so yeah, make sure your film holders are clean. Make sure this is set up such that it makes sense to you and makes sense to your lab. And then make sure 100% of the time that your film goes underneath these 2 magic slots, runners, divider things that run the length of the holder. Oh, and while you're at it, try not to like stick your hand on the film. Try not to drip sweat on it. Try not to bleed on it. Like you don't want to fingerprint this film very much. You want to touch it mostly around the edges and generally touch it as little as possible. So that's why I know where my code notch is. I try and only touch the film in this corner and just rock and roll. Rinse and repeat. If you don't have access to a light, tight closet or bathroom or anywhere that you can make totally dark for long periods of time, there are film changing tents, which is like a little tabletop tent thing you can make dark on the inside. Those are okay. And there are film changing bags, dark bags that you can use. Those are okay-ish. The problem is once you get your hands in there and you get all this stuff inside this bag and you can't see, what actually happens is you start to sweat and it becomes humid inside your bag. And what people want to do is say, okay, I'm going to load a box of film into a bunch of different holders. They stuff everything into this bag and they commit. They open the box, they pull all the film out of the box so it's easy to get to, and then they spend 45 minutes sweating all over their film inside this bag. Don't do that. I recommend you do like a holder at a time if you're going to do it in a tent or a bag. Do a couple of sheets, make sure everything's light tight, close everything back up, pull your hands out, open up the bag, let things air out for a minute, rinse and repeat as necessary. The more humid of an environment you're in, the worse this is. Yeah, just a couple of pointers. Clean film holders are your friend. Don't touch your film too much. Make sure you get it all the way underneath these guys. This is the most common thing that we see is people just stuff their sheet of film in here. Right? If you just stuff this in here, right, and just pray, your film holder doesn't actually want to close correctly. So you're going to end up flashing the film that way. And when it's upright inside your camera, I don't know if you can see that the film is separating from the inside of the holder here, but that's going to make your exposure totally ruined 100% of the time. You're going to get all kinds of weird shit going on. And when you take the dark slide all the way out, that happens inside your camera. So that's why you have these little detent things in here, because when the film is in them, in registration, I can't get it to come out. Doesn't matter what I do, it's going to stay nice and flat against the film plane, against the back of the holder. That's what it's supposed to do. You need that. Anyway, that's loading your film holders. I'm sure many of you believe that I do this wrong, and that's okay. Tell me how you do it and how my methods could be improved in the comments section down below. If you haven't shot large format film yet, try it. It's fun. And if you have shot it, keep doing it, man. We need more large format shooters in the world. All right, that's all I got. See you in the next one.